Hello everybody and welcome to History Bite number 78, dated October 12th, 2020. I'm Walter, your mobile historian and blue-collar scholar. This History Bite is entitled Destroying Monuments. For the past few years, it has become an increasingly popular thing to destroy monuments which are dedicated to historically unpopular figures or historically unpopular periods in time, events, individuals during those events, okay? I'll narrow my focus here a bit to the American Civil War and Confederate monuments. Destroying monuments has been described by some as erasing history and destroying history. And as a historian, I cannot think of a larger statement of rubbish. History, first of all, before I even go there, monuments are obviously, even to the non-discerning eye, monuments are a form of art, of propaganda. They are conveying a message, no different than a painting, okay? Monuments are meant to honor and glorify someone or something. Everyday Joes don't get monuments, okay? I will, in all likelihood, never have a monument, all right? No person, okay, who has accomplished very little will ever get a monument. That's not to suggest that I have accomplished very little. I'm just saying in general. Monuments are dedicated to people, okay, who, at least in theory, have accomplished something great or many great things, all right? And when they are erected, the whole purpose is for you to show admiration, deference, and praise, to this individual, okay, or whatever, okay, the monument is dedicated to. So, that said, whoever has erected the monument, whether it be, by way of a private individual or a local government of some kind, the goal here is to get you to love, honor, and respect whoever the monument is dedicated to. All right? And regardless of, what the statements people have said that destroying these monuments is erasing history, regardless of that, this is not erasing history, folks. Okay? History is not exclusively conveyed through monuments. Yes, monuments are certainly one way of teaching history, but history can be learned and found out in a litany of different other ways. I guess those people that make those statements have never heard of books, articles, the internet, the oral tradition. I mean, give me a break. Monuments are not hardly the only way of conveying history, and you are not destroying history by destroying monuments. When you destroy monuments, you are destroying a form of propaganda. And let's face it, monuments are not going to be popular with everybody in a given locale. It doesn't take much rocket science to see that monuments honoring former Confederates are not going to exactly be embraced in locales that have significant amounts of African Americans and other minority groups. Okay? That goes without saying. Those monuments, point blank, bottom line, are intended, where they still stand anyway, to glorify the concept of white supremacy. All right? Those monuments are intended to honor the men, okay, who risked their lives to preserve slavery and white supremacy. Those men, in my opinion, do not deserve to be honored with monuments. If one is looking at it from a purely legalistic standpoint, they committed treason, which is a crime typically punishable by death. So we honor people who commit treason with monuments? Not in my book. Okay, now I'm not going to get into the whole lost cause thing. I'll save that for another history bite. But the bottom line is that these men committed treason on one end, all right? And what they committed treason for was to preserve human slavery and white supremacy, okay? In a country whose birth certificate reads that all men are created equal, at least in theory, no particular type of men is supposed to be supreme over everyone else. Let's just keep it real. I mean, I do consider myself a textualist when it comes to interpreting documents. I read the plain, unadulterated language of the text. But back to focus. Nothing that these men did is worthy of glorification. And thus, destroying their monuments or removing their monuments certainly is not problematic, nor does it erase history. Okay? These monuments, quite frankly, should never have been erected in the first place. Even though they were erected in a time period which certainly still glorified the Confederacy and, certainly, was open with the concept of white cultural supremacy. They knew that, one day, and actually quite a few people in those days didn't approve, but one day there would come a time when these monuments would certainly be frowned upon near universally by, everyone in that locale. As a Baltimorean, I certainly know why we had Confederate monuments here, even though my city and state, certainly never were part of the Confederate States of America. After the Civil War, thousands of ex-Confederates moved to Maryland and specifically to Baltimore. And I guess they wanted the great city of Baltimore, whose loyalty was very questionable in the beginning of the American Civil War, but that's for another history bite. They wanted Baltimore to hug and embrace, the Confederate theme, the lost cause theme, the proud, brave, bold men and women who committed treason and literally gave their lives, some of them, and others, virtually almost everything but their lives, to preserve human slavery. Okay? Sadly, there were lots of these monuments in Baltimore, before, they were removed in 2017. And, it is to me nothing less than disgraceful when monuments are erected to glorify individuals who have done nothing righteous or positive or good in the sense that they deserve monuments. Okay? So, the bottom line, the sum of all this, is that erasing monuments, whether you destroy them, okay, throwing them in the harbor, throwing them in the ocean, breaking them into a million pieces, melting them down, okay, to make bullets, it doesn't make a difference, okay? Destroying monuments, okay, does not destroy history. That is the bottom line of this whole history bite, okay? History is taught, okay, in numerous different ways, okay? in a litany of different ways. Monuments are a form of teaching history, but monuments are more propaganda than the teaching of history to this historian. Monuments are meant to convey a message that you are to love, admire, adore, glorify whomever or whatever this monument is made for, all right? Made of, representing who, okay? You are to treasure it and you are to respect it. That this person or this event should forever be enshrined in your heart as something worthy of your adoration. And societies change. And what was once adored and glorified, as the Confederate monuments were here in Baltimore, are now vilified, and rightly so. This state and this city were never part of the Confederate States of America. And I don't care if 10 million former Confederates moved here after the Civil War. We were never, absolutely never, a part of the Confederacy. And Confederate monuments had no place here from the beginning. But I'm not just talking about here, I'm speaking in general, all right? The Confederates never deserved monuments. They did nothing worthy of glorification, okay? If anything, they deserve utter and total rejection and contempt. And if I offend you by saying that, I do apologize. However, that is my opinion, and you certainly have the right to yours as well. So I conclude by saying that erasing monuments, aka propaganda, does not erase history, but merely erases a form of mind control. Any questions, controversies, please leave them down below, and I'll be happy to discuss. Take care, stay safe out there, and I'll talk to you at the next History Bite. Peace.